Hey, what's up, guys? So I just watched The Conjuring for the very first time. I know, shame on me. Um, I can kind of detail that, but anyways, and I wasn't planning on doing a review for it just because it's been out for a few years now. I assume everyone who has any remote interest in it has already seen it, or knows what it's about, or knows what reviews it's gotten. But I was so blown away by this movie. I had to talk about it. So for those that don't know, or have never seen it, The Conjuring came out in 2013, directed by James Wan, and I actually didn't know it was based on a true story. So it's based on a true story, but it was one of those movies where it came out and it was just getting rave reviews everywhere. It has 4.5 stars on Amazon and just has really high, I think, Rotten Tomato score. I don't know what the exact score is, but just everyone's just praising this movie, and I always wanted to see it and just never had the opportunity to see it. And so with The Conjuring 2 coming out, when I've been hearing that's really good as well, I'm like, okay, I'll watch the first one and then go see the second one. So I went and bought it on Amazon Instant Video. It was like $5, so I was like, yeah, why not? I'll watch it. And just wow, this movie is incredible. A couple things right up front. It's a lot more than this, but when it gets down to the nitty gritty, it's a possession movie. So whether or not you like that kind of thing, that's up to you. This is done incredibly well, but when it gets down to brass tacks, if you don't like possession movies, you probably won't like it. And the other thing about this movie is I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's not slow, that's not the right word, but you have to let it build. Much like the movie The Witch, which just makes me cry I like to read reviews of stuff, especially after it's already come out, for fun. I like to see what other people think about things, whether I agree with them, whether I'm in the minority. And The Witch is just so criminally underrated on Amazon. It's got like a 90, I want to say a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. So obviously with critics, they loved it. With people, everyone's just like, oh, that's the dumbest movie or whatever. And it's like, you can't go into a movie like that and just expect all, for lack of a better word, your Transformers of horror movies. And to be fair, the marketing for The Witch did leave a little bit to be desired, but that's the kind of movie where you have to go in and you just have to give yourself over to it. You just have to that sounds really weird, but you just have to just give yourself over to it and just let it, you just have to soak it up and just like a sponge, just absorb what's happening, and it just builds and it builds. It's kind of like the tide, just like on the beach, where it comes in and then goes back, and comes in a little bit more and then goes back, and comes in a little bit more and goes back. And that's what The Conjuring was. Is it's just I'm so a little tidbit about me. I hate the word film just because it always feels like most people, when they use the word film, you kind of get a snobbish vibe. Obviously, that's stereotyping, but it's just, oh, yes, I saw that film. And it's like, okay, dude, whatever. And so most of the time when people use it legitimately, usually film is associated with art when movies are being made for art, and movie is kind of associated with, your summer blockbusters and everything. And obviously they can be interchanged, whatever, but to me personally, that's kind of what I get. Is when I hear the word film, I think of something that's made more for the art purposes than for entertainment. And this film is just art. It's just beautiful. So the reason that I think that it works so well is that the director takes his time. He tells the story. He doesn't rush anything. He doesn't add pointless blood and gore and all these things that apparently just the audiences want to see nowadays. He has the story. And it's based off a true story, obviously, but I shouldn't say he has a story. He has a vision for what he wants this movie to be, and he doesn't compromise for it. He builds it, and he crafts it, and he fine-tunes it. And again, like, if people are super familiar with this movie, they know that it's rated R strictly because it's scary. There's no sex or nudity, there's no F words, there's no gratuitous violence. There is violence, but not like people getting beheaded and stabbed through, you know, whatever's in your teen slasher movies nowadays. It's rated R just because it's scary. And when they were making it, they thought that they were going to get a really heavy PG-13, but um, when the rating people give it back, like, no, that's R, and they're like, well, why? And they're like, it's just too scary. Like, we can't sign off on giving that a PG-13 rating. And they took a look at the movie, and they're like, we can't cut anything out. This is great. We can't do anything. And so they didn't. They stuck with their guns. They're like, okay, we will put out our movie. We're not going to make compromises to appeal to a wider audience, which in some circumstances is a good thing. Some circumstances you might want to appeal for a larger audience, but in this circumstance, they didn't. And it's just beautiful. This movie, it slowly just keeps building on this tension, and there'll be little releases with like little jump scares or little things that kind of make you go, ugh. And so then your tension's rising, then it's just, okay, let out a little steam, and then your tension rises more, like, let out a little steam, and it just culminates into this ending where it's just, you're so emotionally involved, you really care about these characters. The acting is phenomenal. In particular, one of the little girls, there's a scene where she has a crying scene, and she was amazing. I was blown away by how good this little girl, she was probably, what, 9, 10, and her crying scene was amazing. Like, she was so authentic, and just all of the acting in this movie is great. The writing's really, really good. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's hard to find a movie with perfect writing. The cinematography is beautiful. I read that he went back and basically wanted to make it, because the movie takes place in the 1970s, and so he just wanted to give it, for lack of a better word, a 70s vibe. And so you can really tell with his filmmaking in the cinematography that he used. You just really, everything just feels in the proper era. Everything just feels, it's just great. Like, I just can't gush about this movie enough. He nailed it. It does, so kind of to go back with what I was talking about before, towards the end you do get some of your, not typical horror things, but if you have your people that want the Michael Bay movies of the horror realm, they'll probably see a few things that they enjoy because they're like, oh yeah. So if you're just wanting a teen slasher blood and gore fest, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie. I hate using this because this is what I used when I described The Witch to people, and I think I might have offended some people, but you have to have some semblance of intelligence to watch this movie. And I mean that by, not everybody can just let themselves just absorb the movie, and that's fine. You know, there's tons of different movies for tons of different people, and if that's not your kind of movie, then that's totally okay. But it's a movie where you just, like I said, you just have to just give yourself over to it and just absorb what's happening in the movie, and it just rolls over you, and it just builds and it builds and it builds, and you just have to. Because I've been in like relationships before where you're trying to watch this movie with your lady friend or your guy friend or whatever, and they just are poking fun at the movie or anything, and you're like, okay, haha, that's funny, but pay attention. You need to pay attention. You need to become invested in this movie, and it's a movie that if you just had on in the background, you wouldn't get anywhere near the experience you would if well, I totally just butchered that. You wouldn't get anywhere near the experience you would, as opposed to doing like what I did, where I was by myself, I shut off the lights, I was just me and the movie. And I'm one of those where when I watch movies at home, you know, I watch them, but I still check my phone more just out of habit than actually feeling the need for the technology. And as the movie went on, I found it, I was texting one of my friends, and I was just like getting annoyed that they were texting me back, because I'm like, leave me alone, I need to watch this movie. And then it got to the point where 2/3 of the movie gone, and I was just riveted. I literally did not want to blink because I didn't want to miss anything. And that's amazing. I've not had a movie do that to me in a long time. I was just glued to this movie. I wanted to know the next thing that happened. I was just everything about this movie is so good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Like I said, that's pretty much consistent with most of what other people's reviews have been. So I wasn't planning on doing a review, but I had to talk about it. And it's late enough, I think it's like 3 in the morning, where I don't have anyone that's gonna be up that I'm like, dude, have you seen this movie? Oh! So I had to. So I'll talk to a piece of electronic technology on my computer because that's sane. um, and it's just, yeah, just go out and watch it. For kind of the parents, it's like I mentioned, there's no nudity, there's no gratuitous violence, there's no extreme language. I think there's maybe 4 curse words in the entire movie. So it's very loud language. It's just very, very intense. And so, obviously that's up to you whether or not you have children or younger kids that you want, if they wanted to watch it, whether or not you let them watch it. But it's very, very intense. I don't want to say it's satanic, but it does handle, like I said, it's a possession movie, so there is lots of discussion about God and Satan and heaven and hell, and it's just very, it handles it all in a very mature way. I was actually very pleased with how everything was presented, but just be aware of that going in. So it earns the highest 9 out of 10 in my opinion. So good. I'm really looking forward to seeing The Conjuring 2 now because everyone says that it's basically as good as the first one. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll definitely do a review when that comes up. So yeah, if there's any other, I actually think at some point I want to do the Insidious movies because I've actually never seen those either. And it's the same, at least the first 2 are the same director. So I'd be really interested to see those, but so I'll probably do a review up for those within the next little while. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this review, so I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.